Howdy, Austin. My name is Emanuel Alejandro Delgadillo. Everybody knows me as Manny Fresh. Welcome to my podcast, Manny Sales Soiree. Well, welcome back to Manny Sales Soiree. Today I have a very special guest that I met through the Austin Chamber of Commerce, Chef Carlos Crusco. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, Carlos Crusco. For the last 13 years, I've had a business, Chef Crusco Catering in the Austin area. We now have multiple chefs, not just me. We've got some amazing front of house staff, servers, bartenders that take care of our guests. And like Manny said, I was invited to Business Council to do a presentation on my business. That's where I met Manny. We got to talking, had a lot of things in common, and now I find myself here doing this podcast. So pretty cool.
Yeah. And then, so I tell people that I am half Spaniard and half Aztec, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a fancy say that I'm Mexican. Everybody, Spain conquered Mexico. Right. So, but what's your heritage?
So my background is Argentino. Mm-hmm. My parents from Argentina, from Rosario. We grew up, our house, funny enough, not even 5 minutes around the block from where Leo Messi grew up in.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's in the neighborhood called El Saladillo. It's in the south part of Rosario. But, further back than that, like my grandfather, my dad's dad is from Calabria, from Italy. So, and my mom's side of the family is from Spain originally. Okay. And then I grew up with a family from Spain, the Guerreros from Madrid. Mm-hmm. And so my youth was very different in terms of having these high-end dinners at my house on Friday, Saturday nights where I'm eating, caviar and soufflé Grand Marnier and, fish and croûte and, just all kinds of homemade pastas and paellas and like it was a regular thing. I was really fortunate to experience that. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me too, I remember going to school. I went to St. Thomas More private school growing up. And most of the kids at the lunch table had peanut butter and jellies, cheddar cheese sandwiches, bologna, Oscar Mayer, all that. Yeah. And I'm showing up with baguettes with jamon serrano or prosciutto inside. Or I'm eating, homemade gnocchis or pasta, and all the kids are looking at me like I was the weirdo. Mm-hmm. But I knew I was fortunate to have all that food. And my parents kind of created two monsters in me and my brother. Just having that experience growing up, I really thought I was naive. I really thought everybody was eating like this. Yeah. And I remember when I left home to go to college, that's when I really was made aware, like, no, not everybody has been able to eat like this. You've been very fortunate in the experience that you've been able to have. So, so that's a little about me.
Yeah. So arguably, I'm going to say arguably because I'm going to be biased, Mexican cuisine is probably top in the world.
For sure.
And I believe my family are good cooks, I don't eat out Mexican food. It's very rare that I eat out Mexican food because plus, I like pozole, menudo, authentic Mexican food. Yeah. But I was never able to. I can't cook. I'm not dying from hunger, as you can tell. Yeah. But
it's not your thing.
Yeah. So I imagine not. Is it a passion or is it based that you grew up with that? Because I grew up with that, But for whatever reason, I didn't follow my mom into the kitchen. So.
Yeah, so before I get into that, I will agree with you. I do think, I'll go as far as for an Argentine to say this. Mm-hmm. I think in the Americas, the best cuisine, North, Central, and South America is Mexican cuisine. Mm-hmm. It has the most diversity, this history. It's incredible. I mean, I 2 or 3 years ago, I went down to Oaxaca and I cooked.
Oh, that's right.
And I learned from a lady in a small village called Teotitlan how to make chocolate from scratch. Mm-hmm. And that was life-changing for me. Just being able to experience that and just, it's such a part of their life and their culture in Mexico. And I think what we see here, like you were saying, authentic cuisine, it's it's not too often that we are really seeing the authentic Mexican cuisine. It's been butchered a little bit, which happens to all the cuisines when they get transferred to country. But how it came to me, I think at a young age for me, it was an opportunity to spend more time with my parents. Try to get not emotional about it because they're both passed, but that was my connection with my parents, especially my dad. We played tennis a lot together, but cooking was like, that was where we would spend hours. I mean, like I tell people Thanksgiving, it was a 3-day affair with my dad in the kitchen leading up to the day of Thanksgiving. Hours in the kitchen, arguing, laughing, listening to classical music, whatever, just catching up. And I guess I just noticed after a period of time of cooking with my parents or on my own, that it was something that just, it came real. And I say this with the utmost like humility. I don't brag. I'm not being arrogant. In a complete humility, it came easy to me.
Yeah.
It was just something that I didn't really have to think too much about. Kind of like the story I told at the Business Council when I did my presentation. There was a show on Discovery Channel called Great Chefs of the World. Remember I did this little song? No one heard, no one watched this show. It was just me. But I remember being in high school and college. It was a 30-minute show, and it took you around the world to different major cities around the world. And you got an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. And I would watch that show, and it was like time stopped. The presence that I had, like I didn't think about anything. I was just so present watching the show, engrossed in what they're doing and their hand movements, the way they talked about the ingredients, the culture, the history. And when the show was over, I could make that. It wasn't hard for me to remember all these steps. And I always remembered that, like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I always remembered that, how simple it came to me. And then just cooking with my dad, who was an amazing chef, he would, tell me, he's like, yeah, you have a gift for this. The food, the tasting, the talking about it. And so I think that's where it came from.
Interesting.
And I'm a giver. It's part of who I am. I love to give my time, myself. And to me, I don't know that there are not many other ways in my belief that you can give more of yourself than cooking for someone, people you care about, and then sharing that history and knowledge. One of the things I love when I cook for people is when the light goes off in their mind. Like they eat something and they're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then you tell them how simple it was that you did it. And they're like, that's it. And the light goes off in their head. For me, that's beautiful. Yeah. Because now they may start.
Interesting.
Right. And so I love that.
Yeah. And I was looking at your blog and your website, and then I was looking at your avocado toast and your avocado egg and toast, and it's night and day difference, your recipe to what I would make in an avocado egg and toast. So then that's why I asked, the patience. And I think you even said this at the chambers, like, you have to experiment, like I forgot your quote, but maybe like a scientist or something. Like you give an analogy that you have to be open to experimenting and trying out, and I don't, because I can't cook. I have to follow the recipe, like, right. And then I'm also impatient when it comes to food because I skip my meals. So by the time I gotta sit down and eat, yes. Yeah. So. But let's tell me a little bit, how you got into your actual business,
Yeah. So a few things. One was during that period of time, there was a friend that I had. She had an event planning business. I was at that time working at a country club, completely different job industry. I was running their tennis program. I was with Tennis Pro. Oh, okay. she was running an event planning business. She knew I could cook. And she was like, people will pay for this, a lot of money. And I'm, what? No way. And so I started it just kind of moonlighting at the time. I had this full-time job. And one thing led to another. It grew and grew. But more importantly than that, I was at a point in my career in that industry where I'd hit the ceiling. There wasn't really many opportunities to grow from there to make more money. And I was at this period of my life, like, if I'm going to work this hard and put in this many hours a week, I want to do it for my own business.
Yeah.
I started getting that scratch, that entrepreneurial kind of scratch. And then there was also the aspect that I grew up watching my father, who was an entrepreneur, had multiple businesses. And I really got to see from, an observational point of view, what that really bought for my dad. And what I mean by that is freedom, right? My dad had this freedom to be able to have conversations in the middle of the day, go for a 2-hour lunch with a friend, take vacations off when he wanted to, right? It gave him this freedom and this ability to do things on his own terms. Yep. And you have to have the right personality for that. You have to be self-driven too, but there was something about that always intrigued me and that I always wanted to have my own business. So that's where it came from. And then the opportunity to, I was telling actually to today, my girlfriend, about this, and that there's a big difference between starting a business with maybe a product or a service that you don't have anything to do with, right? You don't really necessarily have a skill set for it. Versus in my case, I'm starting this business where I actually have a skill set for it. And sometimes having that can be a little bit easier to start the business. You know what I mean? Yes. Versus not having that skill set to provide those services or the product. And I think that was a big help for me. It gave me the confidence. Yeah. It's scary. Yeah. Like I remember when I left the club and my only way of making money was doing events. I mean, I think I lost about 15 pounds. Yeah. It's stressful, right? Yeah. I mean, Yeah. So, but that was where it came from. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I believe you obviously have the passion besides the talent, I should say, besides the talent, you actually have the passion. And I think it's important what you said, because you do have to, when you talked about a product or service that you have nothing to do about and you already had it, it's very important for the drive. Like when you know or love what you do, or it makes it's still stressful, right? The days and all that and the workload, but it's a little bit easier because it's what you like and love to do. So you can actually enjoy it. So, without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah. You actually enjoy and you love what you're doing. People always ask me, like, do you love it? Is it your passion? And, I would say my passion sometimes is a little bit more business in the last few years than the actual cooking, but cooking's always going to be a love to me. I'm always going to be a part of it, whether I'm doing it to get paid or doing it just for friends and loved ones. Yeah. I love it. It's just, it will always be a part of me. But it definitely makes it easier when it is something that you really love doing. And my favorite experiences are for clients that just say, surprise us, go. Because it's interesting, you brought up that quote that I have on our about page, our team page. And I found it online when I was designing the website, and I'm butchering it, but it's something like, being a chef is like, you have to cook with the passion of a grandma. You have to have like the something of a scientist. It was something like that. It was all these different aspects, but it's true. I mean, you have to have a lot of different components when you're cooking, but you also got to have love. You got to really enjoy what it is you're doing, because at the end of the day, I mean, when someone comes and asks us to do something and gives us free reign, now we can really be an artist. Yeah. When we get locked in and told, I'm not going to say any names or anything, but there are many times we will get pages of restrictions.
Yeah.
And when someone's giving you that many restrictions, it's less about cooking and more like you were talking about following recipes to a T because you have to stay within these lines. The funnest is when you just get free reign and they're like, you know, we love everything you do, so come up with something amazing. That's when we get excited because we can play around a lot with ingredients.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah. And I do have the quote here.
Oh,
So,
okay, good. Okay,
a
good.
chef must think like a scientist, organize like an accountant, plate like an artist, and cook like a grandma.
That's
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to when you started the business because I'm very interested in that. You know, I'm a little bit of old school. You know, I like handshakes. You know, one-on-ones. I mean, we went out and had some wine together because I wanted to get to know you outside of the chamber. And that's how my prospects or my customers, that's how I reach out to them. You know, I get in front of them and it's like, hey, I'm Annie, you know?
Yeah.
So tell me, you know, how was the process of going, you know, how did you start, you know, the catering, you know?
Wow. You're you're bringing me back. So I have this book I found the other day. It's kind of like what do you call the photo books? Remember that we used to have where you put the photos in?
Yeah.
I know I'm aging myself here, but I had one like that had a bunch of my menus. And I remember I used to go to people's houses to do a consult. And I would open up that book and let them see the different menus that we would do and sit down and talk to them. I mean, it was highly customer specific, you know, me spending that much time just to create something for them. But I was starting, you know, I didn't have the website. I didn't have 125 5-star reviews. We didn't have all the technology that we have today. And, and I had to learn by going through word of mouth, right? But that's how I started. I mean, really, it was going to people's houses to do a consult with them and talking to them, having a drink with them, finding out what they wanted to do, and then coming up with, you know, an idea of, you know, proposal for them. And then as time went by, I realized, okay, I've got to make this more and more efficient. And so I started realizing, okay, we got to have a website. We've got to be able to have a business email address. There's got to be some type of funnel that can come in. I got to start creating a newsletter to build this, you know, massive group of customers. We have to stay in contact with those customers through the newsletter. Something I did a lot of. Now I limit it to just, you know, maybe 2 or 3 nonprofits per year. But when I first started, I mean, I was offering free dinners to dozens of nonprofits just to get our name and our business out there. And also getting in front of the right clientele, let's be honest, right? So that was another thing that I did quite a bit of. And then I'd say in the last 10 years, it's been more of 5-10 years has been more of getting on board with the technology side of the business. So it's all the social media, from Facebook to Instagram, Twitter, you know, all of those, to having a much better website, an interactive website. So now customers, they can go on and they can get a free estimate within 24 hours from us. They can send an event request form where they go through kind of like a wizard, where a questionnaire just prompts them asking questions, basic stuff. What's the date? How many people? Address? But also, what type of service do you want? Which menu do you want? Do you have a gate code? You know, what time do you want to start? I mean, details, lots of details that we need to find out that they can submit to us so we can stay organized and keep it very efficient when we're sharing this information with the staff that's going to be working the event. And then also really getting on board with the SEO stuff, the search engine optimization. I'm currently in the process of doing a targeting and retargeting campaign with Meta. So buying into all that. We've got a bot on the website through Tidio that lets me know every second somebody's on the website and where they're going. I mean, really having to embrace the technology has been important.
Very interesting. And I love what you were doing at the beginning, you know, with the albums. But and this kind of was going to prompt my next question. how are you adapting with that? Like I said, I'm old school and I love the brand awareness and the SEO. And that gives you the exposure and puts you out there without you necessarily doing much. But I'm still a big hard at me getting in front of a customer.
For
So
sure.
how have you, how has that benefited you? I guess pros and cons. How are you adapting to?
So I've kind of gone back and forth trying out having like an event coordinator who's been able to handle that. Just haven't been able to find someone that's had, they really have to have two skill sets: a sales ability to close deals, but also what I think you're talking about, which is giving that human touch, right? So it's great. It's great to have SEO, all your reviews, to have that Google, what's the word I'm looking for? What is it called that they use? Algorithm. Okay. Having your stars, your reviews, all that stuff being maintained. I mean, doing a targeting campaign, retargeting, all these things, technology, like you said, it's great. But if you lose the human touch, you're going to lose a lot of people. Yeah. So when I don't have an event coordinator, I take on that job. And I think that's where I'm realizing I'm good at. I'm good at talking to potential customers about what we offer, about the process, about the experience. Like a friend used to tell me, man, Carlos, you really sell the sizzle. Yeah. George Conakitas, shout out to George, wherever you are. He would always tell me, you sell the you know what out of the sizzle. And it's just a gift I have to kind of sell the experience, give people an idea, like, tell them to close their eyes and tell them, like, this is what's going to happen. This is how the experience is going to go for you. And so what I mean by saying all this is when we do get those event request forms come in, or we do get an estimate, most of the time, if not all the time, I will reach out to those people on the phone if they have a phone from them that I can call them. Because there's only so much you can communicate through an email. Yes. There's just only so much you can, or even through a text, if they're just texting with you, which sometimes people do. They won't answer the phone, but they'll text you. Yeah. And so if there's an opportunity to get on the phone with them, and all of my emails to them, I finish every email. If you would like to jump on a call, please don't hesitate to call me and let me know. I'm more than happy to talk to them and give them that human touch. Because a lot of times people, they are on the fence, right? Yeah. They want to hear someone answer some of their questions, or maybe tell them something they didn't even think about. Yeah. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that's the opportunity to sell the sizzle.
Sell the sizzle. Yeah. That's right.
So you said that you're more business conscious instead of, chef. And I think your business has evolved to that, right? It's evolving to that. You have a very specific, unique service that you offer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You mean just the general services that we offer, or how we offer it?
No, the dinner for...
The dinner for eight. Okay, yeah. Okay. So we offer different services, 4 different services with our business. We call like a drop-off. This is a classical, drop-off of like charcuterie boards, cheese boards, crudité, stuff that you see at Central Market a lot, right? Or even Whole Foods. Then we offer a tapas style service, which is, for those that don't know tapas, it's like heavy hors d'oeuvres, heavy apps, right? And they come out as courses throughout the night, multiple servings. And then we start with more of the plated service options. And the first one is prefix. So these are preset menus or 4-course menus that we offer. And then the highest level that we offer is a customer specific. And that's way more interactive. The client has to answer a lot of questions, right? Where have they traveled to eat food? What restaurants do they like to go to in the city? What do they order when they go out? What are their favorite appetizers? A lot of information that we'll garner from them, and then we'll create menu choices for them to ultimately choose from. So it's really interactive. It takes some time, but we make it way more about what it is exactly they're looking for. And then the one you're talking about, that's been something that I created out of thousands of experiences, and that it's been something that has grown and been something that really saved me during COVID. I'll get into all that, but the way it happened, honestly, was, you know, like they say, being a fly on the wall. So what I'm saying is, I can't even tell you, Manny, how many, I'm probably thousands of homes I've been in, and nice homes, really high-end home, $1 million homes. And I can't tell you how many times I'm in that house and I can hear customers talk, and how many times I've heard this: can you believe we bought this house for $1 million, or we bought this house for 2.5 or 3.2, and all I got was a basket of fruit. All I got was a vase, flowers, or all I got was, you know, a gift certificate for $100 to PF Chang's. Like, it doesn't add up. Somebody's spending that kind of money, and that's the gift that they're getting. It never seemed appropriate. And so I would hear this all the time, and finally one day, just light went off. And I was like, why don't we start offering this whole dinner experience? We already have this, you know, what's it called? You know, open house kind of like tradition that we have in the U.S., right? You buy a house, you build a house, whatever it is, you have an open house, right? You invite everybody over, you have food, you have drinks. So why don't we offer this dining experience to that customer and gift it to them at the closing process, and then have a chef and a server come in to provide that service? It's like a win-win. Everyone wins, right? The builder or the real estate agent or the architecture company or whoever it is, right, who wants to gift them this, they win because they get their name talked about at that dinner table. Because inevitably, when everybody sits down, all their friends that run in the same financial circles, they ask, who got you this dinner? Oh, our real estate agent. Oh, our architecture company. Oh, our so-and-so guy. Well, give me his name and number. I want to have this, right? So they win. The people who receive the gift, they win too, because they get to show off their house and they don't have to do anything. They get to be a guest at their own dinner party. And then we win because we, just like the architecture company, the builder that's gifting it, they get access to this client's circle of friends as well. So at the end of the night, we put in their hands a little confectionery gift bag that we usually have the gift giver as well as our company to go into those people's hands so they can, you know, have access to us. So it's just been it's been great. It's grown. We started out with a company called Partners in Building out of Houston. And since then they've moved out of the Central Texas area. And since then we've, you know, started selling it not only to people in real estate and construction, but even other industries that want to thank a client. You know, I don't know all the ins and outs of your specific industry or your business, but I don't know, maybe there's a company that's providing you the opportunity to fill in 100 vacant jobs a year, and it's giving your company X amount of dollars. There might be a time where you're like, you know what, John's the owner, I'm going to gift John a dinner for 8 just to say thanks, because I really want to continue building this relationship with him. All we are is the conduit of that relationship. We've kind of taken that old school way of doing business on the golf course and put it into the kitchen or the dining table. Now let's let everybody at the dining table talk, right? And we're going to provide the food and the experience for that. It's been great because I'd mentioned COVID. You know, my business fell apart. I mean, non-existent from one day to the next. But real estate blew up during COVID. These guys, I mean, they were making so much money and they were buying dinners from us. We weren't doing it in their houses. We were having to drop them off, but nevertheless, they kept us afloat. So that's been a great experience, and it's definitely a distinguishing factor. We can talk about later. It might be a question you have, how we distinguish ourselves, but it's a distinguishing factor between what we do and other catering and private chef companies do, for sure.
And I don't know what your business slogan or motto is, but you said this word probably 100 times already, experience. And it's a big difference, from somebody that's buying a $2 million property. And even if they got art in their home that cost them, several thousand dollars,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big difference between like what you're doing versus an object. You're creating an
For sure.
experience. There's laughs.
Right.
Who doesn't love food?
Right.
It's a whole, it's a memory,
Right.
and it's an experience. But proceed with what you were going to say about, your business.
About how we're different.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think just to continue on with the whole dinner for eight experience, a lot of and this isn't even just in regards to food industry or caterers or private chefs. I think there's a lot of companies, right? They will run the business from the standpoint of waiting for the call, waiting for the introduction, waiting for the referral,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is fine. We all have to do that. I get it. I do it constantly. But I'm kind of aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, something my dad always said about me. When you want something, you've always gone after it.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that as a plus. And so I wanted to figure out a way where I could get the sales less reactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And more on the offensive. Meaning, how can we go out and get sales? How can we go out and get business?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than waiting for these calls to come in, or referrals or emails, or these funnels coming, through targeting and SEO campaigns that I've done over the last few years. And so this Dinner for Eight's been able for me to offer that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is going out and meeting real estate agents, luxury real estate groups, pitching it to them, architecture companies, title companies, builders, right? Sending them emails, calls, trying to get in touch with these people and selling them this program.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing, the difference too is like when they buy it outright. Mm-hmm. So what that does for us is it gives us cash flow. Now we have all this cash which we can then use to build the company and grow the company, right? Finally we got back into a kitchen after COVID. For years we weren't at a kitchen. Now we can afford being in a kitchen. Mm-hmm. And so being on the offensive and being able to sell your services rather than just kind of waiting for them to come has been a big difference, and been able to offer us opportunities otherwise we wouldn't have. That makes sense.
Yes.
But in other areas, why we're different, I think we offer a lot more services. The services that I had mentioned before, it's a wide range, not only in terms of what we offer, but price range, because we get a lot of people who are on a lower versus a higher end. And so we wanted to be able to have a lot of different services to be able to provide our services for different groups of people and their budgets. I think another point, and we also offer cooking classes, right?
Oh, okay.
I think that's a big thing that a lot of catering companies or private chefs don't always offer. We offer really fun, interactive cooking classes. We even do these competition classes. For years, we've had groups of women who every month, each one of them would host a cooking class at their house for the entire year. And I love these ladies. Mm-hmm. These ladies, I knew them from when I used to work at River Place Country Club, and that's where I still know them. I taught them tennis, and now I teach them cooking. Mm-hmm. And they love it so much that they end up doing these dinners, progressive dinners, where they go from one of the couple's houses to the other, and they will do the recipes I taught them, and then they'll send me pictures like, we pulled it off. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that. So cooking classes are a lot of fun because, like I said earlier, you see that light go off in their head, and you get to see them learning something that's come real easy to you. Yeah. So I think that's another point of difference. I think you had mentioned experience. Now between myself and the two chefs that work in my company, we have over 40 years of experience in the industry. That says a lot. Yes. That gives us what that really gives us is a lot of bandwidth to be able to do almost any kind of event for you. You know, if we need to go and do an event, like last week we did an event for 100+ people barbecue, we can pull that off easily. You know, we've done dinners for the governor of Texas, right? Super high profile. We can pull that off easily. We have to do 6-7 course dinner for 30 people. We're plating up 200 plates and it's super intense. We can pull that off too.
Yeah.
So much when you're doing these types of events, it's about confidence. Can you pull this off? Do you, I mean, it requires a lot of detail. You have to think about so many things. And so the more experience you have, the more experience you have of facing the problems that inevitably you're going to face. There's always going to be problems when you're doing these dinners. And so, for example, I'll give you an example. We did a dinner recently and we get there. Even though we let them know that their appliances need to be in working order, one of these appliances was not working at the time. So what do? Do we get nervous and cave in? No, we all start thinking, okay, what other techniques can we utilize here to cook this much food in a different way? So we come up with an answer, a solution, but at the same time, we're still working on seeing if we can get that appliance figured out. We ultimately got that appliance figured out and we were able to work through it, but we had that backup plan. We only had it because we had years of experience being able to do these things and pivot and figure out another solution. And that's why people are paying us.
Yes.
Right? They don't want to deal with all this. They just want to be, you had mentioned earlier, do we have taglines? We actually have two.
Okay.
And one is, we want you to be a guest at your own dinner party. And the one that you see on our tagline on my email is the best table in town, your home or office. So those are taglines we use. But I think the biggest thing about what we do is attention to detail. That's where we really distinguish ourselves from other companies. And I mean that in a lot of different ways. The personal touch, right? Me talking to people and not just being an interface, some website. When we do these customer specific dinners or even the prefix dinners, you know, we will print out on cardstock the menus so they have something to remember the experience, the dining experience with, right? Also, when we have the chefs come over, we've, you know, really ingrained and talked to the chefs and myself about kind of being an entertainment factor, right? You're there to offer a form of entertainment.
Yes.
We're not chefs that, you know, and I'm telling you this because I've been told by customers, the chefs show up and they'll just sit in the background. They won't even go to the table. They won't even interact with the customers. That's not what we do. We go to the table at the beginning of the night. We introduce ourselves, a little bit of history about us, the company, the servers. We'll introduce the servers, the bartender, let everybody know if there's anything you need, these people are here to take care of it for you. We don't want you to move. That's their job. And then we'll go into the menu and we'll give them a talk about the menu, what we're going to do for the night. And then for each course, we'll come to the table, explain it, maybe tell a story about it, maybe talk about a technique that was used to make that, and then answer questions from people at the table that have questions about the food, maybe the prior course, the course they're about to eat, and really interact with them. And then give them an opportunity when we're in the kitchen to come into the kitchen and talk to them as well. So I think that's another attention to detail we offer. And then in addition to the cardstock menus, at the end of the night, another thing that we do for free for customers is we give them a confectionery bag. Confectionery meaning like some type of cookie, right? Maybe that goes and plays into the menu. Maybe they're having a Latin menu, right? And so we give them some type of Latin cookie, right?
Some good alfajor from you.
Exactly. If we do an Argentine menu, we'll put alfajores in there, right? And that's just a nice little way of saying thank you for your business. But it also puts our business card into their hands, into their guest hands. So when they go home, maybe that following morning, when they have that cookie with their coffee in the morning, they're looking at that card and saying, I'd like to do something like that.
Yeah.
So it's little attention to details like that. And then obviously, we have our servers. They're taught when they come into the house, they find the hostess of the house. They meet with her for 5 to 10 minutes and they find out where everything is. Kitchen towels, plates, utensils, linens, trash bags, cleaning supplies, you name it. We have to be able to run that kitchen without any interaction with the hostess. Because we've done this, not by choice, but by learning experience. The last thing you want to do is 2 courses in and you have to go to the table and talk to the hostess about where her trash bags are.
Yeah.
It's not good. And so we've taught our servers at the beginning of the night to take care of this and know where everything is. And then and be able to take care of every little thing at the table. So they're not worried if Jeff needs more wine or Nancy needs some extra rice, whatever it is, right? We're taking care of that. And then at the end of the night, we have a signature cleaning service where the servers know they have to clean not only all the plates, glassware, and all that, but the entire kitchen. And then they bring the hostess into the kitchen. Because let's be honest, guys are pigs. Guys are dirty. I mean, they just don't care.
Not me, I'm good at cleaning.
Yeah, I mean, they're just, and I don't mean this anything bad against them, but they don't think about that. And we know that the majority of the time that women do, because they're the ones that are going to be dealing with that night or that following morning. So what we'll do at the end of the night is, it's the main job of the lead server to bring her into the kitchen, show her the entire kitchen, and make sure that it's to her standards. If we get the green light, the check mark from her to leave, we leave. If she's not that pleased with it and would like something else, that staff will stay until it's met. So that's another thing that we really promote and let people know what one of our points of difference is, that we really are offering a full package from beginning to end.
Yeah. So a couple of things, as you're speaking, you're going through all the thoroughness, which is great, and going back to when we're selling a product or a service, the more you talk and the more I understand your business is not really a meal, you're really in the experience business.
Yeah.
From, maybe later on we're gonna have to redo this with a full-on thing so we can have a meal here. Yeah,
for sure. Some wine, some food. Yeah, I would love to do that without a doubt. Maybe we can do it in a kitchen.
Yeah, but it is truly an experience, because you talked about having a bartender, so the host is not fixing drinks, making drinks for the guests. They're all lounging, talking, creating that experience, and everybody's getting served.
And that's important because, that's what my parents taught me. I mean, I remember having parties at our house, 40, 50 people, and watching my mom walk around with empanadas in her hand, and glasses of champagne. People coming over to our house for these like 4 or 5 course dinners, or my dad's walking in with, I'll never forget, I was 12, wasn't that much into seafood and fish at the time. I come home from school and I'm like, what's for dinner tonight? We're going to have like 3 or 4 couples come over, and he goes, fish and croûte. I go, what fish? Next thing you know, he walks out with this tray like this, and it's this fish it's the whole fish. On top of the fish were creamed leeks, and then the whole fish was encased in puff pastry. And as if that wasn't enough, the whole puff pastry was designed in the shape of a fish, with the dorsal fins, the gill, the eyes. I was like, what the F is, what? And I tried it and I was transformed. I've never stopped eating seafood and fish since then. So experiences like that at my house, and watching how my parents really just took care of everybody, I don't know. I felt like that's how you do it. right? And so I've always wanted to make people feel taken care of. We go to their houses and provide them, an experience of food, maybe food that they've never tried before, or just feeling like they're being taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Especially the clients that hire us.
Yes.
Right. That's why that first tagline I told you, we want you to feel like a guest at your own dinner party, is so important, because part of the reason you're paying is to not worry about Jeff needing an extra glass of wine or Mary needing some extra water, right? That's our job. It's like you're at a party at someone else's house. So, yeah.
So, at my age, I think this is the first time that I just realized something about my mom, and you just made me understand her. When she hosts, I cannot get her to sit down.
Yeah.
Whether she's cleaning, serving people, and because us Latinos, especially my heritage Mexicans, they are very macho. I try to break that barrier, and I don't like when people serve me. I want to serve myself, especially with family. I want them to sit. I don't want the women, I should specify, serving me. I want them to sit down at the same time I am, and all eat together as a family. And I can't get my mom to do that, but I guess it's the love, care, and experience that she wants, her kids and grandkids, and to experience. But you talked a lot about your dad and mom, and family is very important to me. My mom is very important to me. I assume, one of your role models and somebody you look up to, and as you should, is your dad.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot about him. You learn a lot from him. Who else have you learned from? Do you have any?
Oh, wow. Yeah, Mr. Guerrero. Yeah, he's definitely taught me a lot about business, life, handling a lot of things. Who else? I would say other business owners.
Any celebrity chefs that you? It's probably
the only celebrity chef that I have had the opportunity to work with was Francis Mallman from Argentina.
Okay.
Which my family in Argentina was crazy freaking out about. They did not believe I was going to work with him, but that was quite an experience.
Okay.
I mean, that guy's on a whole other level. But I would say just, other business owners, and not even necessarily people in the food industry. I would say just in other industries.
Interesting.
I don't know. I didn't need to say if I need to say his name or anything, but I've just had certain friends who are business owners who have been able to, at different times, talk me off the ledge, so to speak, right? Where you're like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Business is slow, the phone's not ringing, bills are piling up. You're like, man, should I be doing that? You start to question yourself. And having certain friends who are in that same boat has really been helpful to me, especially during COVID. I don't want to go off on a rant here, but I think one of the things that really was hard for me to accept during COVID was we're all in the same boat. Remember those comments? No, we weren't. We're not all in the same boats. All of my friends were getting paid and staying home, right? If you're a business owner, you're not getting paid. So yes, we were all out in the ocean, 400-foot swells and getting knocked around, but they were on, ocean liners. We were on a little dinghy with 2 or 3 holes in the corner. You know what I mean? It's not the same experience. And so in that time, it was being able to talk to friends who had businesses who were going through the same nightmares and experiences I was. It was really helpful to me to be able to kind of work through the challenges and the tough times that inevitably, as a business owner, you go through. So those are the people that I I look up to.
Okay.
People who've had success, who've been able to like work through difficult times with their own companies.
Good adversity. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what suggestions, ideas, or advice, to put it an exact, would you give somebody, that's entrepreneurial, or somebody within your industry, maybe a chef that's looking to do?
There's so much, Manny. And I'm probably going to say stuff, and then tomorrow morning, I'm like, man, I wish I would have said this, and this. So I'd love to do this again with you, and maybe even just have an entire episode about that, because I think it's so much to talk about there. I'd say from the beginning, just be patient. You have to have patience. Like, it's just, nothing's going to just, these, the world we live in, this instant gratification, like that just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know this, man. I mean, to have a real business, like, it takes time. It takes a lot of effort. And sometimes I don't realize that myself until, like, I remember when I met you at that business council at the chamber, and there was a few people there that came up to me and they're like, you've had a business for 12 years. It's your only form of income. And when I say yes, they look at me like, wow, that's impressive. And I have to really take a step back and think like, yeah, not to be arrogant or anything, but it is, because most businesses, they fail pretty early, especially our industry. And so you have to be really patient. I would say you have to demonstrate an enormous amount of perseverance and faith. Faith is big in my life. I'm Catholic. I have to believe in something bigger and pray, and because there's times where, if we're not getting paid, and that money's not coming in, you have to think, right? You got to believe in yourself. In terms of our industry, and you mentioned, being a chef, I would say to young chefs, don't feel like you have to go to culinary school. If you have some experience cooking, I don't really think culinary school is that important. I think you can learn a lot more, if you have some basics, and then go and work in a restaurant, a catering company, a private chef business, and really see what it's like.
Get the hands-on experience.
What they call staging.
Okay.
And really see if this is something you'd want to do, for a period of time or your whole career. I would definitely say that. I would also say, give advice, like ask for help. I had a lot of pride, too much pride. I'm Argentine. We have way too much pride. We're known throughout Central America for having too much, or South and Central America for having too much pride, Argentinos. And I did. I had another business. So when I first started this business, it was just a private chef business. It was just me. I did everything. Served, cooked, cleaned, everything. Then I started another business with a client called Home Food Kitchen. We were doing meal deliveries for families, like whole meals. We had a beta group of like 100+ families. And going from cooking for, 100, 200 a person to going down to, selling meals for $10, $12, night and day difference, Manny, night and day difference. And it was very hard for me. And we failed, right? And it was a big failure. I lost a lot of money, years of my life, but I learned a lot. And so, trying to remember where I was going with this, but basically just, being open to learning from mistakes, being open to asking for help, right? When you're going through things, not having so much pride. That's where I was going from. And my pride was I was making it about food when I should have been making it more about the convenience of a product that we're offering for customers.
Okay.
And so learning to kind of set aside your ego, it depends on the industry you're in. Many people could say what we're doing is an art form. And it really is. Like, we're designing something on a plate for people to consume. It's really hard to stand in front of people, right? and they're looking at something you've created and maybe they don't like it. And for you to be able to stand there and withstand that, it can be hard. A lot of people that don't like cooking for chefs, they're intimidated. Well, we're also intimidated sometimes too. So it's being able to learn to set aside your ego is something I would say, being humble, staying in your lane, knowing what you're good at, and trying to go into it from the standpoint of like, it's not always what you know best, but just try and understand what is it your customers are having a problem with, and then you coming up with a solution for them.
Yeah.
Right? I think that would be a good starting point for anybody who wants to start a business, because otherwise it's just an idea.
Yeah.
You just have an idea. Like, you have to really find out, do people have a problem with this? And as a result, are they willing to pay you as a company to provide that service for them? That now it's a business. Yeah. Otherwise it's just an idea. Yeah. Those are just, I would say, some things that I would give advice to young people that want to start businesses.
Great.
You know, yeah.
What's your favorite dish? Your expertise and favorite.
So I'll say two, give you two answers. Okay. So the first answer is variety. There's not one dish.
Okay.
To me, and what I mean, I'm not trying to be hard or anything, but what I mean is I love seasonal cooking.
Okay.
I love Fredericksburg peaches in the summer, to where I'll buy 400 of them and spend an afternoon at my house breaking them down into purees, sauces, jellies, or all, what's the word I'm looking for? Can them. Okay. Put them in jars so I can have a Fredericksburg peach in the middle of the winter. I love that. I love a summer tomato. Okay. I love waiting for the squashes coming in the fall and the apples. I love citrus in January and February. That's citrus season. Most people don't realize. And that's when you go to a place like Central Market and they have this, an unbelievable array of citrus, citrus you've never even seen. I love that. I love waiting for that and getting excited. Oh, I forgot about this ingredient. And then I love to make this one juice and sauce and blah, blah, blah. So that's, that's what I mean by variety. Okay. Right? But if there's one dish that, I don't know, there's something about it, the preparation, the eating of it, it's making homemade gnocchis, which are basically potato flour dumplings.
Oh, okay.
And it's probably, I'm going to say it fast because I don't want to get emotional, but it's probably because it's what my grandmother and what my mom taught me how to make. And I saw them make, and I remember being 5, 7, 9, 12, 13 years old in Argentina, in Rosario, playing soccer in my grandmother's backyard while she made me gnocchis, and then watching my mom making them with her. There's something about your hands, the dough, cutting them, forming them with this dowel. I have a dowel, so it's like this wooden thing that has grooves in it. And so you hold it at an angle. Maybe we could do that. We can do a podcast on that. We make and talk. But you take each dumpling, which is about that big, and then with your thumb, you roll it down that dowel. And basically what it does is it rolls it like that, and it leaves grooves on the outside of the pasta. And there's a reason for that. It's not just the look. The reason is now it can hold more pasta sauce. Oh, so each bite that you get more of the sauce. Yes. Italians, they're genius. And you got to do every single one by hand. Yeah. And I have a dowel that my grandma had. So this dowel is probably 100, 150 years old. Oh, wow. And then just eating them, it brings me back to my youth, being in Argentina. It's very comforting food. So I would probably say gnocchis. Okay. And in Argentina, it's a tradition to have them the 29th of every month. Oh, okay. It's supposed to bring you good luck. Good luck. Yeah.
Interesting.
So gnocchis are a big thing.
Got it. And where can open to the public, can they experience a little bit of this, right? You have you do it every Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So every Tuesday, we are open over at Springdale General, which is East Side, Springdale and Airport. There's a place called Springdale General over there. Inside, there's different companies. There's Uroku, which is a sushi place. Medici Cafe is there. There's a bar in there, a bakery, some salons. And then also inside, it's Wingman Kitchen. Wingman Kitchen, we'll shout out to them. Max, he's the owner. Great guy. It's a shared kitchen space. And I'm not doing it the service it deserves. We've been in shared kitchen spaces. And let me tell you, Manny, they are a desastre. I mean, we've been in some that are so gross, we won't even take our food out to set down on tables. Or they're in parts of the city that run down, no one's going over. Wingman Kitchens, beautiful, clean, well organized, great communication, and you're in an area with lots of foot traffic. So one of the advantages or one of the attractive things that the owner Max told me about is we will allow you to do lunches, a lunch counter service, right? And so Tuesdays, every Tuesday, we're in there from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. offering lunches to the public for very reasonably priced, anywhere from $5 to $15.
Oh, wow.
You can come in and get lunch. And we do, every month it's something different. We've done empanadas, Argentine empanadas, beef empanadas, or corn and cheese empanadas that we call humita. We've done different tacos. So we've done like a carnitas taco where we'll braise.
I've seen that one.
We'll marinate pork for a day and braise it for 3.5, 4 hours. And I try to get my chefs involved, so they also do different stuff. So our chef Leah, she's done a power bowl with quinoa and greens and cucumbers, really fun stuff like that, lighter foods. We have done all kinds of different stuff, sandwiches made with homemade focaccia bread. In January, we're going to do like a Philly cheese, kind of like a French dip sandwich. So we offer different things like that are open to the public. And then we've also done pop-ups. So,
great. And how can anybody get a hold of you? How can they?
They can go to our website, chefcrusco.com. So chef, C-H-E-F, and then Crusco, C-R-U-S like in Sam, C-O. And through there, they can access all our social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, phone numbers on there as well. Or you can Google Chef Crusco Catering. You can get our contact information from there as well on our Google My Business page.
Great. So, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It's been amazing. Thank you very much for having me.
I am regretting that I skipped lunch today. So thank you, everyone. Chef Crusco, appreciate it.
Definitely. And I'd love to do this again, and maybe we can do it like we talked about, maybe with some food and some wine. And
absolutely.
That would be great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Manny. Thank you very much.